There you go.
Welcome to another continuing episode. Oh, wait, I'm hitting the wrong fucking.
Yet another continuing
Yet
episode.
another yet. There we go. Okay, yeah, I needed the arms
Make sure
crossed.
you share, comment,
Like, share,
subscribe.
comment, subscribe, and buy. No,
Still click the
fucking
bell for
another
still
episode of
notifications.
Shitty Weekly brought to you by our delightful Subscribe Star backers. Check out the Subscribe Star to give us money, but also, maybe more importantly, or maybe less importantly, to check out all sorts of super extra videos that will eventually define the culture as you understand it in the coming years. Objectively quantified and proven already.
Cutting
You
too
don't want to
quick.
be left behind in the cultural wave that we are creating and ahead of at this point. So,
You don't want to be left behind, but you will be because you just not good enough.
you suck, you piece of shit.
You
But also donate to our subscribe
you
star.
suck. Give us money.
Yes, but that's a great catchphrase. You suck, give us money.
Fuck you, pay me.
Anyways, we were just continuing off from we were comparing Star Trek: The Next Generation to anime, and finding anime quite lacking and objectively inferior. Is that fair? Nope. What else were
Eh,
we're gonna compare all anime to something else? Star Trek.
Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, Ghostbusters. That's right. The fucking because we were talking about technobabble last time when we left off. Specifically, how dialogue is handled, but including technobabble. How in Star Trek it's seen as almost filler. It's as a tool, whereas in in anime it is everything, and yet at the same time completely pointless and without any merit or value
It's
to the
like the
story
worst
or
elements
anything.
of Star Trek Voyager. It's like the very worst of Star Trek,
Yeah,
or
the
at least
worst of
what
Star Trek
used to
Voyager
be.
would just throw technobabble all over the place to try to explain things that still didn't make sense. But what we were also going over, we remembered one of my favorite lines. Probably my favorite line in Ghostbusters actually was when Tully was possessed and they had him in the station, and it was just going over the history of the Zools and stuff, and just when he's like they took his latest form or his final form, that of a giant slower, just fucking the way he says that is so funny. But it's also an example of technobabble actually being used properly because he's literally babbling. It's all this jargon that the audience isn't supposed to know, and in fact is funny because it is meaningless. It's just a bunch of fucking gobbledygook. It's a bunch of jargon. It's a bunch of fucking
I'm
terminology
Babel.
and shit. That the McKettrick supplements and or whatever or supplicants or whatever the fuck it was. I don't even know, but I just know it was something ridiculous like that he's just going
That's
on about.
exactly the point. It's basically proving our point.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's funny, so it serves a purpose. Whereas in anime, it's just there to make it sound like the writing's smarter.
And if you're not able to fucking like repeat it verbatim to explain why you don't like it, it's proof that you just didn't understand, too deep for you,
Yeah,
and shit like that.
anime fans are like, that's not what he said. And it's like, it doesn't matter what he said because what he said was irrelevant and meaningless. It serves no purpose to the story. It doesn't further any character development in any way. It's just words to attempt to sound smart, which Eva still had a lot of, no matter how self aware you want to claim it is.
It
Eva
seems
was
like
completely pointless in that.
The TV show, which was many more hours of time than the movies, had less.
But it
The
still had
fucking
a
movies
lot that
had
was
way
completely
more.
devoid of purpose. It served no purpose to the story, the characters, or fucking to communicate anything to the audience. It was just to show off jargon, and it was empty and meaningless and soulless.
And
And Eva still had some good aspects to it.
sometimes the jargon was the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly. So,
really?
yeah, sometimes it was the terminology of like religious stuff, like the fact that they called them angels and stuff was partially still just jargon and technobabble because they didn't establish what that really meant to the overall world, which, again, very weirdly enough, the manga The tie-in manga or the
which
spin-off
wasn't
manga
written
that
by
was
Anno.
made
It was
actually
written
did
by
a
the
better
fucking
job of
guy who
that.
did the main art.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's another example of how the writing in most anime is just dog shit. And again, a lot of that's changing. Like the past maybe 10 years of anime has finally just grown out of that because it's like, okay, we can spout techno babble all we want, but ultimately, if you just tell a story, like a comedy probably tells a better story than a comedy anime like Konosuba or some shit like that will tell a better story.
But also kind of like the deal with manga where it's like anyone can read anyone's manga. If it's no good, no one's going to care. I
Mm-hmm.
think that we are actually passing an era now where the fucking weeaboos would have watched any dog shit, and now nobody listens to the weeaboos
Yeah,
anymore.
people have listened to anime fans for way too long say that objectively low IQ pretentious faggot shit like Serial Experiments Lane is supposed to be good, and then a person with real taste will watch Serial Experiments Lane and be like, "Oh no, this isn't good at all. It's actually very badly objectively bad. It's a badly told story that has ultimately no meaning. It doesn't have a hidden meaning. It has no meaning, and anime fans pretend there's a meaning because they need desperately to pretend that they're smart when they're actually extremely stupid people. The essence of an anime fan is a stupid person trying with all of their might to pretend that they're smart. It's the only reason why they've ever watched anime. If it wasn't for that, they would never have watched anime in the first place. Anyways, yeah. So the technobabble doesn't even serve a purpose to fill in like how they may solve a problem. Like in TNG, it was to fill in how they would solve a problem, but the problem itself would be told in basic plain human terms. Whereas in anime, they tell the problem in technobabble and jargon that they don't like. They'll use abbreviations, never explain what the abbreviations stand for, and never explain what the abbreviations actually mean or are supposed to mean in any way. It's basically plot magic. The AT fields in Evangelion were plot magic. They were not anything more than that. They were nothing but plot magic and plot armor, which is inherently laziness. The other thing that we're talking about was the themes of anime, where, like, for example, Star Trek TNG, they're like, oh, the time space continuum is shattered. There's all these pockets of time moving at different things, and the Enterprise is going to explode. And we got to solve this problem to keep the Enterprise from exploding. And in an anime, they would just spell that out in the most basic low IQ term. And that's not a problem with the translation. That's a problem with the original writing, is they would spell out the theme of the episode or the theme of the show by just stating it. There would be no subtlety to it, or there would be no way of couching it in the content of the events of the episode. Like if or the one where the fucking Native American Indians were on a planet and Picard had to kick them off a planet because of the Cardassians. It's like, oh, it's the Trail of Tears all over again. But he would be like, we have to do this, though, because the Cardassians do have the legal right, and they will attack these people. We don't want these people to be killed. We have to try and do something. And it was fucking stupid Wesley came along, and he kind of fucked things up, actually. If this was an anime, they would just be like, Native Americans were once subjugated and oppressed and massacred by all the white people. So it is wrong for us to kick them off, but we have to anyways. So we will do that. And just completely like on the nose, blatant, shallow fucking writing.
That wasn't even a very good episode.
No, but it was certainly better than the other Wesley episodes, like in the first season, where literally they would solve everything by Wesley just giving a bunch of technobabble and saying, I did this while I was drunk.
That show was even worse. It was like, I reversed the polarity, so now the fucking tractor beam goes in reverse. And it's like, okay, so they could never do that until Wesley figured it out?
Couldn't you just push one button to do that?
That's even dumber.
Yeah, and he solves the fucking problem of the day by being like, I reversed the polarity. I'm going to rearrange the microchips the data slot to be aligned so that, and it's just like that's the solution. That's why people hated early Star Trek TNG, because that early TNG had writing on par with anime. And that's true. You can empirically compare them, and they're identical.
It still wasn't quite as bad at every level of every moment.
Yes.
But it goes to show that's what happens.
Anime was consistently worse, whereas TNG had some brighter spots in the first couple of seasons, and then got way, way, way fucking better. Because they got some innovative, creative writers.
To the point where it was one of the best shows on TV.
And also, I think
that.
possibly most importantly, Gene Roddenberry died. I think that was a huge factor to the quality of TNG increasing.
That was a huge benefit to the show.
And, DS9, then, another fucking consistently great show that actually still got better as it went on. And then Voyager was like a whole different cast, or not cast, but like a whole different creation team that a lot of them were just stupid dum-dum heads. But and so Voyager kind of became more like anime, whereas about shallow fucking surface details. And again, there were still a lot of really good episodes of Voyager, though. And a lot of them actually involved Seven of Nine, so it's not Seven of Nine that made the show worse. The show started off shit, and the final episode of Voyager was still shit. But at least there was an element of that, like the episode Tattoo, where fucking Chocolate Day or Chakotay fucking revisits the aliens that visited his Native American tribe in fucking old days or some shit. And his dad is like a religious fundamentalist zealot, but his dad is the right person because you see Native American better. And that's the whole message of the episode. It's that fucking tone deaf, missing the point shit that's more about sort of virtue signaling. And that's what most anime also has. It would just be right on the fucking surface like that. But added to which the dialogue of most anime would just be like, oh, you are being a bad person because you said this. And the bad guy will be like, yes, I am a bad person. I hate human life. And like, it wouldn't even be over fucking any intricate or interesting thing. You'd be like, I hate human life, so I will kill all of it. And the good guys are like, no, that is wrong of you to do.
How can you say
human life is good? That's anime writing, not exaggerating. That's actually fucking dialogue from like 10 different anime shows. And that's why anime sucks. Objectively, it's fucking. There's no question about it.
I mean, it's not. It's fucking. It's gone beyond that. The real question now is just like, how can these fucking people still not get that?
Yeah, anime fans are that behind the times that they'll hear something that's cringe. Like, I used to actually cringe violently just trying to watch an average anime. Because it was so stupid, and the writing was... And I was watching the fucking... the subs that were being released on Pirate Bay and shit. So I wasn't watching the 4Kids version or any of that shit. I was watching what the fans were working hard to translate and release.
It's what the fans considered the most genuine and legitimate version.
Yes. And it would be... The bad guy would be the most... stereotypical, cliched, one-dimensional, mustache-twirling, I will kill these innocent puppies because innocent puppies are stupid to me. And then the good guys are like, no, you disgusting monster, how can you do this? And then they just stand there, and then the bad guy will just stomp innocent puppies to death in front of them, and the good guys are like, I can't believe you did that. You are such a bad person.
The good guys have full capability to stop it, and they don't.
And they just stand there like a dumbbell. And that's every anime from Dragon Ball Z up to to now. But again, it's stuff like One Punch Man that understands that, laughs at it, and mocks it. So anime is coming into a new era. It's coming into its own where it has an understanding of how stupid it was and now it's starting to really goof on itself properly. But it still has some problems, like when it starts off that way and then starts taking itself too seriously, and then it stops being funny and just turns into a fucking story that's, that used to be funny and now it's just action, which, it's like, okay, maybe that's okay sometimes, but not good enough for me. My standards just way too high for this low IQ anime shit, pretentious gay anime faggotry. For effeminate like the most effeminate people on the planet are anime fans, especially male anime fans. They're more effeminate than the girls. Usually the girls are just fucking ugly, fucking square-jawed butch dyke faggot homos. I mean,
not
whatever.
even butch though. They're just like really slobs.
Yeah, they're weirdly ugly slobs. They're misshapen and usually really annoying femcells and shit. Which is for sure bad. The worst kind of incel is a woman.
Joshi or whatever.
An average woman, of course, not even a femcel.
All women are incels.
Yes, by nature. But they have a pussy and tits, so usually even... See, that's the thing. If a male incel simply had that, they could get laid too. That's all it takes.
And the worst incels are fucking the sex addicts.
Yeah. They're such fat... They're pretty whiny too, and again, that we're better at identifying it in other people than anyone else, and that's why we're superior to everyone else. But that's just not my opinion. In my not so humble opinion, in my not so humble fact, rape facts. We invented rape facts, a form of fact that's so brutal it rapes people's sometimes their bodies, but always their souls. And that's what we did to a lot of people, including e-celebs. Including some of the biggest e-celebs out there, we raped their souls, just on accident, with facts. It's kind of a shame.
To the point where it's not an accident anymore, it's basically on purpose.
It's starting to become intentional. I mean, sometimes we do it intentionally, which, also fun. Anyways, continuing on with the post that I was reading about why anime is for gay wads. Nice Mod was saying his favorite anime, Trigun, which is also very gay, though.
Super gay. Holy shit.
Vash is presented as a lofty superhuman. He's a literal plant or something, apparently. An unattainable ideal, whereas Wolfwood represents mankind struggling to attain said ideal and constantly falling short of it. Sounds pretty compelling, right? The problem is that these themes are handled with no subtlety or capability at all. And we went over tons of examples of that in the previous one and this one, but he continues on. But rather pounded into you like you're being beaten with a ball-peen hammer. Just like in that wonderful movie, I think it was Kill Switch or something with Steven Seagal, the wonderful
Old
Steven
boy.
Seagal. Just starts, he grabs a fucking suspect and just starts slamming his fucking arms and shit and his knees with a hammer. And he goes, I think your arm's broken.
I hear you like to break bones.
I hear you like to break bones. Does he?
Is that a typical MO for a criminal? They like to break bones.
I mean, the guy was apparently a serial killer, fucking, but did he break bones? I don't remember. He killed women. That's all I remember is he killed women.
A typical stuntman in a lot of these cheapo fucking Steven Seagal action movies.
Yes.
Isn't that weird?
But also, Steven Seagal being played by his stunt double for like 90% of the movie, too. Every time you don't see Steven Seagal's face, it's his fucking stunt double, who's, of course, skinnier.
Stunt's not even a fucking stunt. It's just him swinging the hammer into the guy's arm.
Yeah.
It's like, you couldn't do this yourself?
Usually with sped up footage to make it look like he's doing it fast. To be like, oh, God, he's getting lazy again. Okay, we'll just speed up the footage.
There's one scene in fucking... That was probably the fucking last moment where he ever stopped trying, was the very end of...
Under Siege 2.
Under Siege 2, where he does the judo flip on the fucking...
yeah, and you can clearly tell that it was sped up footage, and it's like...
Yeah.
Because it was still... The movie was still generally very entertaining and generally impressive.
It was probably the last good movie he was in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, unless you like the other ones ironically, which, that works.
Ironically. But
like,
I mean...
If people said that they liked anime ironically, if they're like, oh, this anime is so fucking stupid. Akira, this movie's so fucking stupid, it's hilarious. I would have a lot of respect for them. But The fact is, it's rather boring if you fucking try and watch it that way.
It's not even so bad it's good. It's just honestly, it's kind of an insult to the original.
Yeah.
Because they use it as like a platform to be able to check it out. Look at how good the animation is.
But yeah, we went over that in the previous episode at least. So anyway, so Nice Mod says over and over it's, hey, why don't we just kill something? What? No, killing is bad, you idiot. I'd really be interested in seeing how the same story would have turned out if it had been handled by an actual competent writer with an understanding of literary themes, like,
really,
I don't know, say Stephen King maybe.
Between anime and Lightbringer in general, it's like, oh, my mom and dad always insisted that I never fight violence with violence.
Mother,
like,
you are wrong. I must fight violence with violence.
It's not possible. So why is it even being brought up? Is it going to come back around that he can somehow defeat violence without violence?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound like he ever does that.
Trigun.
So why is it being brought up?
Trigun at its height of writing quality is no better than Lightbringer by Linkara. Lightbringer by Linkara. Really? It's the exact same quality of writing.
The only difference is one got a fucking anime and the other didn't.
Yeah, that's the only difference. If you're capable of measuring writing quality objectively, which we are, and it's really not that difficult. Other people, if you say something like, writing quality is subjective, that means you have no idea what actual good writing is, and you never will. You're just a fan. If you say something like that, you are just a fan, which is the lowest form of human being. That's beneath NPC. If there's NPC, and underneath that is a fan of something, anything, but especially anime. Anime then is even beneath
also
that.
Comic books. I'm not sure exactly what's worse, anime or comic books. They're both bad.
You know what? It's like quantifying which puddle of shit is closer to the ground than the other. They're both on the ground.
Puddle of feces might potentially have more fucking bacteria.
Yes, it's got more culture to it than
it's
gay ass anime. Anime doesn't even have culture. But anyways, yeah, fucking. It's that level of spelling things out and just being that. And again, it's not the translation, because I've seen that excuse so many times with anime fans where they're like, no, it's just a bad translation. And it's like, no, I can tell the difference between I've seen bad translations. I've seen translations that change the meaning of the original dialogue. And then I've seen verbatim translations. And the thing is that a bad translation becomes incoherent, but can still retain the meaning. A good translation that localizes, if it localizes to be too American-based, yeah, that's fucking clearly changing the meaning. And then a verbatim translation, it can be very awkward and confusing because it will make puns or references to Japanese culture that have to then be explained in translation notes, but I'm fine with that too, as long as it's explained.
If it can be done without doing that, you should try, but it can be very hard.
And so again, we reviewed that Dan manga, and we fucking just straight up praised it nonstop, beginning to end. And we even talked about why it's good, not just that it was good or fucking any of that shit.
We could explain. We could fucking comprehend it and break it down.
Yeah, anime fans can't do that. Anime fans cannot tell you why an anime is good. They'll give you excuses for why they like it, and they'll pretend that that's some kind of objective reason, but it's clearly subjective and emotional. They will take a subjective emotional thing and try to pretend that it's objective when it's not. Whereas we do the exact opposite. We take a fucking an objective thing, and then we say it's objective. The objective thing is objective. It is true. It is real. It is a representation of reality. That's the true opposite of what the anime fan does. The genetically inferior anime fan does. But by genetically inferior anime fan, I mean, of course, anime fan.
Untermensch or anime mensch.
Yes, Untermensch, I think, also accurate term there. Anyways. Cool Mod ends this post here by saying, there's no reason to expect a developed mind to expend the amount of patience necessary to get into most of your popular Japanese animes. If Japan's media wasn't either animated or ridiculous, there would be absolutely no market for them anywhere, which is, I think, a pretty good point, too.
And it's funny, I'm sure we were getting trashed by a lot of these fucking weeaboos until fucking Jerk or Coolmod said that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, is that we say that, and people are like, you fuck you guys, but then Jerk would say it, and people
didn't even draw Princess Playground.
Because he was able to draw. And that's the thing, that goes to show the shallowness of all fans and all anime fans, is if you say something that's objectively true, undeniably true, anime fans will deny it. But if you say something that's objectively true and you can draw, anime fans will actually have to have second thoughts, which proves that they are inherently shallow people. Some of the most shallow people on the face of the earth. And that's not up for debate. That argument has already been... We already won that argument decades ago. If you're trying to have that argument, you're going to have to fucking go back decades, and you'll still be proven wrong with facts and logic. With hard data. Hard
R data.
Hard R data. Yes. Anyways, Cool Mod wraps up here.
I call it.
Saying Asian cultures have a belief that the structure of a story doesn't require conflict to maintain an interesting progression. And truthfully, I've seen a few interesting things with this formula, but by and large, Asians are the only ones who can withstand those productions because they're trained to be boring and appreciate boredom from birth, which is fucking, in a way, kind of Cool Mod goofing around too. But in a way, it's like, yes, we're so peaceful, you see. We don't need conflict to be entertained. But to be honest, I don't think that's true necessarily either. Because they put in, again, so much of anime is just big tit decapitations to appeal to the human id. That's why anime fans are like, oh, anime's so cool because it's really smart. And meanwhile, you look into it and it's got big tit decapitations for like 5 seconds. And then the rest of it is a bunch of gay, retarded, pretentious blather that doesn't actually mean anything.
People standing around.
Yes.
Fucking
like
talking.
Dumbbells.
Sometimes the talking... you can't even see their mouths moving.
You know what he's really referring to, the fucking boring and the lack of conflict, actually refers to the fact that the good guys will stand around watching the bad guy crush puppies and babies to death under his foot while they do nothing but complain. That's actually what's happening.
There's also a DBZ. I remember that happening a lot.
Yeah, it happens all the time in DBZ. Goku would just stand around as the bad guy would fucking blow up half the planet. And that would happen because of Goku's inaction. The same thing with Trigun. Fucking Vash would stand around and be like, no, it's wrong to kill. Because we shouldn't kill, because it's wrong.
He has a gun.
Because we shouldn't.
But he's like, no, I'm not going to kill anyone.
Yeah, it's like, you have a gun, shoot that guy before he kills all those innocent children. And then the guy kills the innocent children, and Vash is like, but at least I didn't shoot anybody. That's the actual morality of Trigun. It's immoral. It's objectively immoral, but pretends to be moral by, having Vash be like, oh, at least I didn't shoot anybody. Again, it's the pretense. It's all about pretense. That's why Japan doesn't have a word for pretentious, because all their anime is the most pretentious shit ever.
They also don't have a word for sexual harassment, so they just call it sexuhara.
Sasu. What the fuck is all that babbling bullshit? Oh, it's literally just English, and they fucking Japanified it.
Motherfuckers.
Really gonna do that?
Those motherfuckers.
Motherfuckers. Anyways, one last thing, and this one will be shorter. An anonymous, basically following up those other things. Saying,
we're having a conversation.
Monster from the 90s, Tex Henlizes, Mushushishi, Denu Coil, Hell Even Code, Gay Ass, and FMA hit their stride at various points of the story. Good philosophical anime exists. It's not literally all Eva and Ghost in the Shell out there. And I replied saying, and still none of it is even worth a shit compared to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And I think this is the guy replying, saying, really, Bill and Ted, I'm glad they didn't make it so contrived, but that lyric reference is what I could get from my oh-so-brooding 14-year-old nephew, which is like fucking... I don't even know what that's referring to. I don't know if I just fucking... I think, you know what? I said Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and then I embedded the video of them going, "All we are is dust in the wind, man," and they pick up the sand, go dust, and then blow it into and blow on it and go wind, and then they point at Socrates, the actual philosopher Socrates, and go, dude, and then Socrates is like, whoa, what? His mind is just blown by fucking Kansas lyrics. It's so fucking funny, but at the same time, it's funny specifically because they're saying that to Socrates. It's just these dopes go back to fucking ancient times, find Socrates, quote Kansas lyrics at him, and it blows his mind. It's great.
It's legitimately funny, and it's just like a cute moment.
Yeah, it's the movie's full of cute moments out of things that could have been a little awkward or weird, like Napoleon and Genghis Khan and stuff have a strange history, but again, it just takes them and does cute, goofy things with them, and that's why fucking Bill and Ted is greater than every anime ever existed, and
Was it Mozart on the wall of keyboards or something?
Yeah, that's right. That too, and then Billy the Kid, who fucking I don't even know what the hell he did, but then also Abraham Lincoln, and fucking they go back to the medieval
also
times.
They can pass their fucking history test. They're potentially violating the temporal prime directive, and fucking possibly going to undo their own births.
They're stomping their foot through history just because they need to pass a history test in high school in order to become the band that saves all of the human race and the future, where the earth the air is clean, the water's clean, even the dirt is clean. Just fucking again, just so many great goofy little lines.
George Carlin as a fucking like a cameo role as the guy from the future,
and he's not even playing up to his George Carlin-ness in a way. He's kind of the straight man, but he's still funny.
Yes, but it's like in a way that George Carlin doesn't usually do his act or anything.
Yeah, but anyways, so the guy replies being like, "Really, Bill and Ted, I'm glad they didn't make it so contrived, but the lyric reference is what I could get from my brooding 14-year-old nephew." This is clearly an anime fan being just butt blasted that his look at this list of anime. I haven't even heard of pretty much any of these. I've never watched Code Geass, but I know it's just another fucking mech thing. I don't give a fuck.
Geass. The Code Geass was actually a decent show. The rest I have never heard of, and the ones that I have heard of
might be all right.
I know aren't good. I've tried to watch them. They aren't good.
I haven't heard of the other ones, but again, if you've watched this much, clearly you will like anything. I think you watched the Code Geass follow-up series, by the way. It wasn't the original.
If it wasn't the original, I have no idea what the original was.
Well, it's also like, remember, we actually did see Full Metal Panic Fumafu, which was like the comedy spin-off of Full Metal Panic.
Yeah.
Which was an anime, and again, a friend of ours who watched anime, who actually lives in Japan, fucking told us to get this in like the mid-2000s by just linking to a fucking Pirate Bay link to it. But I watched Full Metal Panic Fumafu, and it was funny. And then after that, they released Full Metal Panic fucking Advanced series or whatever the fuck. It was like the next series, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be cool. I watched like 3 episodes, and I was like, wait a second, this isn't a comedy, and I just dumped it. Because it wasn't funny, but it wasn't interesting either. It was boring.
And there's nothing special or interesting about it.
Yeah, you take the fucking self-aware comedy out of it, and it's not funny, and it's not boring, or it's not interesting. It's boring as shit.
It isn't boring. It is boring.
Yeah, it isn't boring. It's worse than boring. But anyways,
and that's actually the real crime, is like they showed us the potential of what they could do when they're fucking not restricted by the limits. Kind of like the Ghost Stories dub.
Yeah, the American dub of the Ghost Stories anime is far superior to the original anime, but that's a low bar. The original anime sucked.
It was basically just another throwaway fucking anime it's like, oh, there's slightly horror elements, but everyone's being wacky, and it's
It
like they
played to the
dump
most
the
bare
entire
bones
story.
basic anime formula of like the main character guy, cute fan service girl, other cute girl who is like the more prim and proper one, guy's friend, and then fucking, there's dad, and then mysterious family secret, and that kind of shit. It's
The
just by the
talking cat.
numbers.
There's a talking cat in the show.
Oh yeah, that's
Straight
right.
up.
Because their cat gets fucking possessed by Amano
At least they
Jaku.
have an excuse for it this time. In
Amano
this case,
Jaku, who
the
is a
cat,
demon that gets used in like fucking 500 other anime cartoons throughout the history
including
of anime.
Overfiend. Legend of the fucking Overfiend, starring Amano Jaku.
Yeah, that's right. It's sort of like the the nine-tailed fox that gets used in Naruto was fucking some other thing. It's based off some other shit. It's like,
whatever.
okay, fine,
I've
whatever.
never even seen so much as more than a few seconds of Naruto. I can't stand the idea of it.
I heard a fucking podcast review the manga or something. So,
Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
Anyways,
Whatever.
so the guy's like, "Oh, really, Bill and Ted?" And I said,
Yes,
"That's
really.
right, motherfucker. Bill and Ted. It stings, doesn't it? Knowing that even an 80s comedy about dopey surfer dudes is better than your precious, ridiculous anime shit. But it's still true, and you can't bring yourself to face it. Looks like all along, Bill and Ted was simply too deep for you." Sunglasses, Smiley.
But that's also the thing, is just the bitterness at knowing that we're comparing something that they've just never seen.
Yeah,
They've
like
clearly
you
never
were saying, we fucking compared like Ghostbusters to anime. Is it a fair comparison? Nope. And again, Bill and Ted. Is it a fair comparison? Nope. Because Bill and Ted,
But
of
don't
course, is
act
going to
like
be better
then
than anime.
it's
It's,
like, oh,
written
you
by
don't
smart,
like
funny
anime,
people.
you like Disney cartoons, and it's like, no, I don't like Disney.
Oh yeah,
cartoons.
that was another
Like,
cope.
oh,
That
then
was
you need
another
to see this
ancient
video from Frozen.
ancient cope. Yeah, that was another one of the ancient copes from anime fans. Is if you ever criticized anime, they would simply accuse you of liking Disney, and it's like, no, you're obviously the person who likes Disney. All you do is watch cartoons, and it would turn out I've actually seen it, where they're like, "Oh, you probably watch Disney cartoons," and then like a week later, I would see that same person be like, "Oh, did you see the new fucking Disney cartoon that's coming out? It's fucking Beauty and the Beast 2 coming out direct to fucking videotape. I'm gonna watch it. It looks so great." And it's like, you were the one whining about fucking how you think I watch Disney cartoons. So every anime fan who ever accuses you of watching Disney cartoons, that's them projecting. Every anime fan always projects. Anime fans always project. They're like the SJWs in that way, except they predate the SJWs.
Anime fans always lie.
Yes.
Fans
most anime
project.
fans became SJWs, by the way.
Yes.
The majority of them.
Feminists. A lot of them are straight up Fedora lords.
Yes, the majority of them, and there's a minority that is like, actually, I'm against social justice, but in practice, they practice the exact same behavior as any Jew. Anyways, Harry Neckmod adds to the post at the bottom here. Saying you might have a point. And Harry Neckmod was just another guy who, he didn't even add a lot of other posts or edits to asks or that kind of shit, but he would make some posts, and usually they were pretty decent. And so that's why we had him on. He was a guy from that we kind of knew since before the blog even, and it's like, here, go ahead and be a mod. I don't give a shit. We'll kick you off if you suck or something. So, again, low stakes for us. But we never had to, because, he just generally made some decent posts or points about something. Or he would back us up. That's good, too. And, cool mod would, too, and a nice mod did, too, as we've seen in some of the other posts. So, good for us. But anyways, Harry Neckmod saying, you might have a point if anime fans even had the emotional maturity of a 14-year-old. They're mental infants who can only recognize commentary or subtext when it's as blindingly obvious as war is bad anime. So they think it's brilliant because it's the only symbolism they've ever been able to see. They have no clue that these themes have been done way better in even middle to lowbrow American movies, or sometimes even in American comedies like
Have we ever
Stripes.
reviewed? I think we reviewed Girl Chained in Paradise, but not on
I don't know if we did, but
we should
classic.
maybe
Maybe in the
because
future, I don't fucking know.
anime. That's my favorite anime.
Yeah,
Is Girl Chained in
well, my
Paradise.
favorite anime, of course, is Curb Your Enthusiasm, which would get anime fans would get so pissed off when I would say that it's not an anime. And it's like, yeah, I know, that's the point. It's so good,
House
it's
MD.
better than anime, and it's not even an anime.
House MD is the best anime.
House MD, best anime.
So,
I unironically used to tell people that before it became a meme. They actually ended up becoming a meme, and I didn't even know. Is that I would tell people House MD is the best anime, and I ended up seeing other people say that years later. And I was
but
like,
also,
I guess that took off.
Cory in the House is the best anime.
Yeah.
Fucking.
That came from us too, by the way.
Hill.
That came from us saying stuff like Curb Your Enthusiasm and House MD is my favorite.
A long time ago.
Yeah, from like early to mid 2000s, we would be doing that shit. Like before season 5 of Curb Your Enthusiasm, I would be telling people that Curb Your Enthusiasm is the best anime or my favorite anime.
And they would get really pissed off.
Yes. Anime fans would get so mad so easily, a little too easily, you might start to suspect that they're weaker people, all of them. Or is that the final proof? Yes, it is. Anyways. And if you haven't noticed it, it's because you're not capable of human cognizance.
Genetically flimsy. Like their fucking genetic structure could be kicked apart easily with one strong kick.
Don't get them too close to a vacuum cleaner. Their DNA is just going to come flying apart in a spray of molecules. They fucking would just collapse into a big pile of dust.
Their pathetic fucking DNA. Their skin is like tissue paper.
Tissue paper. Anyways. So that wraps up that, and we got tons more content coming up in the weekly, but we also got tons and tons more content, even more content than the weeklies, is going up on our Subscribe Star with all sorts of insights that all of you will be saying within a year, if you haven't already. I mean, some people who watch our stuff actually do know. They're people who have actually been on our level for a while, so they know. But anyways, yeah, check out our Subscribe Star linked below and all that kind of shit. And we'll actually wrap up, since we didn't go into any webcomics. I guess we'll just do a quick recommendation of sort of a webcomic. It's called Breaking in Tim, and it's by Melchor Manson. Here, the link also below. He did the comic, but also melchormansonsolo.comic, as you can find it. But I found this comic on eHentai. I was just thinking of it today, and I was asking people, it's like, what's the name of this comic? Because I didn't have it. I deleted it because it's like, oh no, what if someone thinks it's straight Shota? Even though straight Shota, the most partition fetish, aside from Riona, of course. But I deleted this because it's like, oh no, what if that's illegal or some shit? Even though there's no reason for it to be. But I was like, oh, I want to find it again. I never should have deleted it. And Clumsor, actually, speaking of people who are on our level, Clumsor remembered it, and he linked me to it on eHentai. So if you just go on eHentai, e-hentai.org, Breaking in Tim by Melchor Manson. Really good comic. I mean, there are things I could criticize about it, like fucking why does he have a sister who's psychic, who's sending him psychic messages the whole time? What's going on with that? Does it have anything to do with anything? It doesn't have anything to do with the comic, really. But the important part of the comic is hot black teacher chick gets just dog fucked brutally. She becomes a ravening cock whore just by the existence of a fat cock being in her presence. Great comic. Classic.
Does it somehow make it more degrading? Is that really the secret goal, is just degradation? The degradation of the female body?
Yes. Showing off the degradation of her body. Wonderful, delightful, classic porn.
Classic.
So yeah, that's our recommendation for the week. I know we don't really do a lot of recommendations. It depends sometimes, but we had to talk about at least a comic in general this week, because otherwise we wouldn't have. But yeah, so check us out for more stuff. Once a week at least. That's why it's good for us to just pre-record all of these weeks in advance and just schedule them out. Because then we don't have to. We can go months without fucking updating or recording new episodes. Very handy for us because it's tricky. It's not easy for us to fucking get the proper time to do this. But anyways, so yeah, unlike reshare, comment, unsubscribe, resubscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Anyway,
re-click the bell. Make sure that you still clicked the bell.
Yes. But most importantly of all is donate to our Subscribe Star, where you get the access to all the secret videos that you're not allowed to watch. You're not allowed to watch otherwise, with the super best stuff, some of the best content and shit, and also the stuff that will be making culture, as in we will be shaping culture in ways that most people are not humanly capable of perceiving yet. But in time, everyone will, whether they want to or not. Usually they get mad at the fact that we do. And remember, most importantly of all, should have listened to Shitty Webcomics.